All right, welcome to another edition of TV6 Investigates Talks. I'm William Ingalls with TV6 Investigates Matt Christensen. We're doing a bit of a role reversal here. I'm not the one asking the questions this time. You get to grill me for once.
Yeah, that's because you have an Investigates package that you've been working on for a while. You're really close to getting done.
Yes.
It's an important story, and we wanted to talk a little bit and preview it. So
yeah,
tell me about what's the story about in a few words.
Yeah, so it's really just 3 words. It's Handle with Care. It's a program that I originally covered when I was in Rockford, and it's all based on linking schools and police together. And it might not be in the way that you think. So whenever police do a report, obviously you have all the names that get logged in. Typically people only care about who is the victim and who is the perpetrator. But there's also a ton of other people who get logged in this thing. Anyone who gets talked to. I mean, you see a lot of video whenever we go to a crime scene. You'll see like all the police knocking on doors and talking to people on the sidewalk. All those people get logged in that same police report. And what happens is, that can be traumatic, especially for people who are of school age, whether they're middle school, high school, any age. And what this program does is if a single student is logged in a police report, it goes then to, it's more or less syncs the student roster with police records. So if a student pops up in a police record, it doesn't matter where, if they're a victim, perpetrator, or otherwise, that triggers an email that then goes to school admin. And when I covered this in Rockford, I thought of it more as almost a data point. Just because I think it was representative of the level of trauma that was coming into our schools. And I thought that that was impactful to get an idea of, hey, you can't go up and figure out exactly how many kids are getting in trouble and stuff like that. There are some ways to do that. You can look at suspensions and stuff like that. But I thought that that was a really interesting and representative way of going into the trauma that is walking through our schools on a day-to-day basis.
So what can school administrators do about a trauma that happens outside of school? Why do they need to know?
Yeah, and this is where what you do with the data matters. And in Rockford, they actually almost use this more as a data set. I think they had enough money to get 2 counselors. And so they looked at the schools that had the most Handle with Care notifications. They're like, all right, this is the most trauma in these 2. Let's get these counselors to be at these places the most because this is where the need is. There's a deeper meaning to that. And the original, I think, impetus of this program is to inform why a student might act the way they are. And I think that is at the heart of what, when I talk to our local leaders, what this program is being used for. I was still able to get the data, and I think the data is interesting and stuff that I will certainly dive into, but it's really the purpose of what happens when a student might be acting out.
Okay. So if a kid acts out, it's good information for the school to know, hey, maybe this kid has had a trauma yesterday or recently.
Yeah, exactly.
It might explain some of this. So there's not conclusions being jumped to, and maybe that student's getting a different level of care or support than they would without this knowledge.
Exactly.
Is that the gist?
If a kid snaps in class, it's not go to the principal's office. If you have a Handle with Care notification, this kid maybe was up till midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning because their parents were in a domestic dispute. And it's just like, well, how do you expect that kid to function that day?
Yeah.
At a normal clip.
Yeah.
I mean, when middle school and high school were hard enough as it is, I'm sure as you and I can attest, especially when you're talking about these traumatic incidents, it's if a kid's nodding off in class, if maybe they snap at something they wouldn't normally snap at. I mean, instead of referrals, you're talking about, hey, how about you go talk to the counselor?
Care.
And this is sometimes the first and only chance that you have these kids that have relatively hard home lives. This might be the first and only time they have a chance to get involved with these services. And I think that's where Handle with Care makes some really interesting and impactful inroads to where it might be changing, even some of the most, impacted kids in our community when it comes to poverty, when it comes to a lack of family structure. This might be the one positive that can really course correct the path that they might be on.
Yeah, I think you and I have both done a lot of reporting about schools over the years, and I think maybe a lot of people don't realize how much they're being asked to do outside reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? They feed children, they're mental health providers, you can get services there for special needs children, all of these things. And so I think for the school to have more information that's going to help care for the students is probably good for everybody.
Yeah, and I think one big thing that as we have this kind of bullet point as to the real bare bones of what Handle with Care is, there's little to no interaction with students based on these notifications. The only thing that gets to school administrators is usually their name. In Davenport, when I talk to them, their birth date's included, and then also just the message Handle with Care.
Okay,
This isn't
so there's not specifics. So
exactly.
There's nothing personal or private.
There's supposed to be as much predication on anonymity with this as possible. It is not an open invitation for teachers to be like, heard you had a rough night. It is legitimately just to give that little kernel of background of, hey, this kid, if there's a big test, hey, do you need another day? You okay to take it?
Right.
It's not, hey, I know you had some bad stuff go on yesterday, like you able to take, it's just like, hey, it's that little caring hand, and the overwhelming response that I got when I talked to people who run this program here in the Quad Cities at the school districts that have it is there's a lot of negative in that person's life in that day. What's the one thing we can do to create a positive so that, especially at that age, it feels like everything spirals at times. This might be the one updraft in all of that, and I think that's really the impetus of the program. And I'm really excited to share the story because I think there's a lot of good things that our local school districts, police are doing to try to be the difference in these kids' lives.
One more question.
Yeah.
Is it working?
That's where things get a little bit interesting. There as much data as there is to show the trauma that is going into the schools with Handle with Care. Afterwards, because of that anonymity, it's the blessing and the curse of this program, because you might be able to make a difference, but it's not like they log afterwards. It's not like, hey, Handle with Care led to this person talking to a counselor. This Handle with Care notification led to these many referrals not happening. They don't track that. And I think one of the most impactful things that was said, and maybe this is a little bit going into spoiler territory for where this story goes, but I think it's so vital to mention, is just, I asked him point blank, how do you know it works? He goes, I know that putting one positive thing in this kid's day could make all the difference, and that's how I know it works. And that's all I need to go to sleep at night, knowing that this is a program that's worth the effort, that's worth what we're doing to make it happen.
Cool. I'm looking forward to watching this, Will.
Yeah, it'll be good. Have to do just a few more housekeeping things on it, and we'll be able to share it with you guys. Can't wait for that. I know we had, if you guys have seen our air, we had original air date of yesterday. Just a couple more things that we got to wrap up on that. But here's the good news: we have a lot of other Investigates pieces that you've done throughout the week. I know you've been working with the Arsenal. We had a big announcement with Dick Durbin announcing he's not going to be running for re-election, which opens up a whole lot of things when it comes to Illinois politics. But I know you took a very specific look at what he's done in the Quad Cities, because everyone's talking about the political outlook. But
those tributes are pouring in from everywhere. I wanted to know, what direct impact did he make?
Yes.
Here? So we got that tracked down.
Yeah. So a number of things that you can check out on our website. But as far as TV6 Investigates talks, that will wrap it up for this edition of it. We'll see you next time around.